Hey everybody, welcome back to Missy's Yarniverse and more. I am Missy and I hope you are doing well. So what are we doing today? Well, this is take 2 of this video. If you've been around for a while, you guys know over the last week or so, my little laptop decided, even though it had been having a mind of its own and I said it was possessed for the longest time, it decided it was no longer going to communicate with anything, including the Wi-Fi. So this video that I am redoing today, which is hashtag craft yourself free, is a second recording so that I can get these projects put away and out of the basket where they've been living. And it was a good thing that I still had them in there, because at that point I didn't realize I was not going to be able to get that video out of my computer. So hashtag craft yourself free. If you are new here and you do not know what it is and you have not heard about it, it is the brainchild of some lovely yarny friends and sisters. They decided, there's a lot of these craft yourself, what have yous on the YouTube streets, but a lot of them have a lot of stipulations and rules as to what you can use. And they decided that basically they wanted to do something where you could craft yourself free. It didn't matter if it was something you had just purchased or was in your stash. It could be yarn. It could be beads. It could be cooking, baking. It could be doing puzzles or Legos, painting, reading, gardening. Anything you consider a craft or a hobby is included. You just figure out how you want to keep your totals. Now, everything that I have in this craft yourself free is crochet. So I was using the weight of my projects, and then I tally up the weight of all of the craft supplies yarn that I've used over the month. And we're going to do a total at the end of the year too. So this total is for October. And if you do not know who Sam over at Memphis Makes and Christina over at Bella Uncinetto are, they will be linked in the description box. Please go check them out. They are some very talented, creative ladies. I love their content. They are always up to something fun. And I am super excited that they started this Craft Yourself Free at the beginning of the year, because I have so much in craft supplies. And this is a way that we can hold ourselves accountable, try and use up what we have, even if we are bringing in new and using that as well. Doesn't matter. As long as we're using it, we're enjoying the process, and we're making some awesome things. So without further ado, let's get into what my October totals were, so this video isn't too awfully long. So if you've been around for a while, you know that during the month of October, well, it started in July, but during the month of October, for the entire 30 days, we were adding 6-inch by 6-inch granny squares to our Halloween blanket. So that meant that during October, because the 100 days ended the day before Halloween, because, you know, Halloween was day 0. So I had 30 squares to add in to the blanket, and I'm not going to show you which ones they were. They've all been attached. I am still working on said blanket, and once we have an update as to what it's looking like, it still needs ends woven in from where I added the last several rows of squares. I also need to add some more appliques to certain areas of the blanket, and weave in ends and add a trim and a border. And then once it's all done, I will show you guys. So I had 30 squares in total, and I was counting them up in groups of 10. So what I did was every group of 10, I was tabulating right there. And in all told, for all 30, it came up to 24.24 ounces in basically yarn. So that was the first thing that was on my list, and my list is quite extensive for October. So that was 30 squares in 30 days. And then the next thing that I made was Maisey, the wooble, the candy corn wooble, because I wanted to do a quick make so I could get some instant gratification and a little endorphin rush that I finished a project, because working on such big projects, you kind of start losing your oomph and start feeling deflated because you haven't finished anything in a while. So I did Maisey, and I think she is absolutely adorable. And she weighed in at a whopping 0.92 ounces. So we will put Maisey in, move this. We can put her up here for now. And then I was working on a top secret project for months that I could not talk about, could not show, could not give you any information, because I was part of Decade Divas for the 70s celebration that is hosted by Teresa over at Critters Crochet and Shannon at the Spoonie Stitcher. And there was a lot of content creators that were involved. I can't remember how many in total. There was like 30 something, I believe. And what we basically had to do was pull from the inner memories, if we were alive then, which I think some of the people were not, or they were babies, and think about something that was very 70s related or brought us back to the 70s, or screamed 70s, or had a certain memory pull for us in the 70s. And one of the things that really kept playing on me, that was a big part of my life during the 70s, was my grandmother was ordering books from the Scholastic Book Club, the little paper you would get in school. I don't know if they still do it. She was ordering the Little House on the Prairie series and teaching me how to read out of those books before I started school. So I was so wrapped up in the Little House on the Prairie. And then several years later, they started the television series. And if you haven't seen that video on my 70s Decade Divas, 70s Celebration Decade Divas project, go back and check out that video. Well, what I did was I made little Laura Ingalls, who later became Laura Ingalls Wilder, and she is jointed. I did do her legs a little different so that she could also sit. But because Little House on the Prairie was such a big part of my life in the 70s, learning to read from her books, her book series, and then the television show where my mom would pop this big, ginormous thing of popcorn on the stove, pour it in one of those gigantic Tupperware bowls, and we would sit in front of the TV on the floor and watch Little House on the Prairie. So I had to make Laura. And Laura weighed in at 13.83 ounces. And I absolutely love her. She's one of my favorite projects from this year. And yeah, she's going to forever and always live with me because I adore her that much. So yeah, 13.83 ounces. And like I said, if you haven't seen that Decade Divas video, please go check it out. As well as in my video, it's listed all of the other content creators that also did a Decade Diva 70s celebration project. And if you haven't seen theirs, go check them out as well. So that was Laura Ingalls. So we will put her in the basket. And then the next thing that I made was, and I think you guys voted on it actually during our 100 Days of Halloween, I made Andy the Owl. Because we were still working on the blanket. It was still a big work in progress. And I wanted another little quick make. And he is a wooble, in fact. So we did Andy the Owl. And I think he's super adorable. He was so fun to make. And I'm throwing him across the room. So we'll put him up here because he is finished as well. And then what was the next one? The next thing, because we were still working on the blanket that was totally taking over our lives. Ranee can vouch because, yeah, it did. It took over our lives. So the next thing I made was Luna, and I think you guys voted on her as well. She is the bat, and she is indeed from Woobles. She was super fun to make. She's one of the Halloween drops for this year. And I do plan on making more of her in different colors because I think she is so adorable. And she came out, I don't know if I told you Andy's totals. It was 1.31 ounces. And Luna came out at 1.27 ounces. So we will put Luna up here. And then the next project I completed was actually a challenge from my lovely yarny friend and sister Ranee over at the Woolly Llama Shop. She had challenged me on one of the squares that she drew at random from her Jinx Jack-o'-lantern of Joy. The square was actually a dishcloth pattern, and she challenged me to size it down so it would fit and make it into a square that would fit into my Halloween blanket. And we did. But when she first challenged me, I decided I was going to drop down a hook size on the pattern, see what size it came out to make this dishcloth. And then that way I could figure out how I needed to change the pattern to make it into a 6-inch by 6-inch granny square. Well, this was the pattern. It is the Easy Cat dishcloth, and I don't even have it listed where it came from. Oh, yes, I do. By Beatrice Ryan Designs. And I was able to size it down by eliminating, I think it was the top row right here, and then one of these rows. All I did was figure out how many stitches there were in each cat repeat, and I just eliminated one of them, so that there were, I think it was 4 going across like that, and then I eliminated the top and just trimmed it out and put it in my blanket. And the way it's folded, I'm not unfolding it. So that was the dishcloth, and it weighed in at 1.31 ounces. And I got a cool dishcloth out of it for the spooky season. So it's been pulled out of the kitchen since Halloween is put away, and we are working on the Christmas decor. So it will come back out next fall. And then the next thing, well, it was actually several that I had started. Every year I do crocheted pumpkins, and I give a lot of them away. I have sold some, but I also use some in my decorations. And I like to surprise people, like if we go somewhere, like I did. 2 of these are not, I'm not going to be able to show you because they have already been given away. I had give it to our favorite wait staff at one of our favorite restaurants over in Sparta, which they were so excited about. But I did the Wheat Stitch Pumpkin by Brianna Kay. And there was a bunch of us doing them. And I was just doing them into all different kinds of colors, switching out yarns, everything else. And we had talked about this in some of the videos. So this pumpkin was 2.75 ounces. So that was the first one that's on here. And then, what is the second one? The second one was given away, and it was 2.86 ounces. No, I take that back. This was the first one. This one was the one that was 2.75 ounces. I did it in that same yarn I'm using in my Halloween blanket, the Red Heart Super Saver Jumbo Stripes in Brights, because, of course, you know, why not? And I don't do normal pumpkins for my display. So I had to. This one will stay with me. This one was the one that was 2.75 ounces. And then this one with the, oh no. Yes, 2.86 ounces. So that was the second one that I did. I totally forgot about the brights one. And then the next one that I did that has been given away was done in burnt pumpkin and cinnamon cedar. And it weighed in at 2.96 ounces. And then orange. The next one was also given away, and it was 2.96 ounces. And then I did one in purples, a variegated purple, and then a solid purple with a purple ribbon. And it weighed in at 2.82 ounces. And some of these are going to be given away still. And then the next one was this one with the sparkly pink yarn and that pretty cool Hobby Lobby variegated. And this one was 3.07 ounces. And then the next one was this one. Oops. And the cinnamon stick just popped out. In a multicolor, it just has a bunch of the bright Halloween-y colors I was using in my blanket. And this one weighed in at 2.82 ounces. And then the final one, which was out of that big twist yarn that I said looked like candy corns. I can't remember if it's sunset or sunrise or something. And this one weighed in at 2.12 ounces because the yarn to me was thinner. But I think it's still pretty. I put like a copper colored and an orange ribbon doubled up on there. And that last batch of cinnamon sticks I got were very skinny. So I might end up taking them out and doing something else or finding some thicker cinnamon sticks. I don't know. So that was 2.12 ounces. That was the most petite pumpkin I did. So in total, I did 8 pumpkins, but I only have 6 left. And then, let's see. The next thing we did was, and it was voted on by you guys, I did Salem, the Wooble, the witchy, with her. It was a bundle that I got. You could either buy Salem separate, or you could get Salem with the witchy bundle. And I can't remember how much it was and what the bundle was called. So the bundle came with her little cloak, which it came with orange yarn, and I didn't want to do it in orange yarn because she's witchy and she's purple. So I did her little cloak in black. And then there was also in the bundle the little witch's hat, which I changed. I also changed the cloak. I added an extra row. And then on the witch's hat, I also changed it. I added, instead of doing 1 row of the hat band, I did 2. And then on this, they were doing just 1 single, and it kind of rolled up. I didn't like it, so I did increases to make it look more like a witchy hat, and I actually added a buckle from leftover scrap yarn from Maisey, the yellow. So those were the changes I made with her. And then she also came with, of course, she has to have her broom. So there was that. And then there were some other pieces on the site that did not come in the bundle, but they were very witchy. So I went ahead and got the little cauldron accessory because it was only $5, and it went with her. Super cute, her little cauldron, and also the little trick-or-treat bucket pumpkin. So that was the whole set right there. And Salem by herself weighed in at 1.34 ounces. And I weighed all of her accessories together, the cloak, the witch's hat, the cauldron, the pumpkin, and the broom. And they weighed in at 1.62 ounces, which was more than she did. And then, The one other thing on my list that, and I'm going to leave these in here, that I do not have in here was the What's in a Name make along with Laura over at Mad Mimi's Crochet and Farming. For the month of October, you had to find a pattern that used your name, your birth name. Missy is my nickname, so I could not use that. My birth name is Rodana, and I showed it in one of the videos for my What's in a Name cow, and I spelled it out. No other person has that name. It's not spelled. I've met one person that their name was pronounced the same, but it was spelled entirely different. So there was no pattern. So she had said, if we could not find a pattern with our name, we could make up our own, like a dishcloth or something. Well, because I was making so many squares and had been for the 100 days, I did not want to make another dishcloth. So I decided I was going to make something that was useful and resourceful that I could use in my home. And because we have the 2 adult cats, and well, we have one older one, we have a teenager, and she acts like it too. Binks is our resident teenager, and woo, right now she's going through the attitude. And then we have the 3 babies that were brought to us by the mama cat that disappeared. So I decided I was going to make something that even if just one of them loved it, it would have been a win-win. The way it stands, they all love it. Nobody wants to share it. So I'm apparently going to have to make 4 more. And I am going to perfect. I was writing down how I did it, but I'm not going to make them all the same way. I'm going to perfect the pattern. Because I'm finding like my edges don't want to totally stay up, because like the kittens, when they're laying on it, they decide it's more comfortable to lay half on and half off with their head hanging on the floor. So the sides are collapsing. So yeah. So I'm trying to figure out a way to perfect it, maybe make a different size. I don't know yet. We will see. We will see. And that kitty bed weighed in at 32.06 ounces. So do you want to know what my total was for October? So my October totals were altogether for all of the projects, squares, cat bed, all of the amis, dishcloth, everything. In ounces, it was 100.26 ounces, which translates into 2,842.32 grams, and translated it into pounds, it came out to 6.27 pounds of crafty goodness for the month of October. Not bad for working on a blanket that was taking over my life, right? So, and as far as the blanket, only the finished squares were counted in groups of 10 and weighed. Some of the squares have now had, since I put the squares together, have now been given another applique that was not on there before. Plus, we don't have the trim out yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to total up what all of the pre-done squares were. And then once the blanket is finished, I'm going to weigh the blanket, subtract the amount of the weight for the squares that had been done, and figure out how much had been added into the blanket once it's finished. Because I know the totals are going to be entirely different. So, because like I said, I've added additional appliques. I have more to put on there, and I have not even done the trim out on it yet. So yeah, so that was my October totals. And I'm sorry this is getting to you guys a week late, but technical difficulties will get you every time. But alas, we have a new laptop. I'm hoping that this weekend I have time to get it set up and hooked up to the Wi-Fi, talking to the printer, all that stuff. Even if it's not talking to the printer yet, that can come later, as long as I get it all set up so that it can hook up to the Wi-Fi. And then we'll be back in business, guys. So there we go. And during this, for the cat bed, I was able to claim 2 whole yarn labels. I did use like a quarter or a third of a third ball of the Bernat, but of course the label's still on there because I haven't used up the whole thing. I'll probably make some little fluffy blanket yarn critters to donate, and but we did finish out 2 of them in total, so those can go in my label basket. And I was able to claim all of these during the making of the squares for the blanket. Random skeins and stuff that I had finished. So there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 and 7. So there is more out there, but the skeins have not been completely used up. So once, I'm probably going to use them in a scrappy project, I think, and get them used up as well, probably a scrap blanket. And that way we can get those out of that partials basket and get the yarn bands put away where they need to be. And now I can add these to my basket for my end of year totals for 2025, which we are quickly approaching. I cannot believe next month is our last month. Craziness. Let's put those back. So yeah, guys, that was my October totals. So like I said, if you do not know who Sam or Christina are, which if you don't, I don't know where you've been, please go check them out. I love their channels. They are brilliant. I was so excited when they came up with this hashtag craft yourself free. It's helping me keep accountable because, guys, this is only a portion of crafting supplies. You guys see, this is probably maybe 1/6 of what I have, or if not, maybe 1/10. I don't know. There's a lot. And let's see, who else did we mention? We mentioned Laura over at Mad Mimi's Crochet and Farming. Please go check her out as well. And she's working on another What's in a Name make-along for November, which I am still scouring patterns, trying to find one for this time because it's entirely different. It's not my name we're using, but it's hard again. And I don't want to have to make another thing, make up my own pattern. And then who else did we mention? We mentioned Ranee over at the Woolly Llama Shop. Please go check her out. She was one of my partners in crime for the 100 Days of Halloween. And she's got some awesome content, as well as the other Yarny sisters that were involved, which was Patricia over at the Yarny Cat Crochet and Nova over at Nova Gnome Creations. And then a bunch of you guys started joining in during the 100 Days of Halloween with your little Halloween woobly makes and little amigurumis. So it was a lot of fun. And since that was so much fun, we decided now that we were going to bring on Woobalin Wednesday full on. Because we're just having a lot of fun with it, guys. So I guess with that, I'm going to let you guys go. It is storming. You've probably heard some thunder, if not the rain sometimes. We are under a tornado watch until 10 p.m. But the funny thing is this is moving a front into our area. And by Sunday evening, they are talking snow showers into Monday. Yeah. It's Tennessee. You know, what do you expect? 1 minute it's, hey, look, we've got sunshine. Now, hold my glass of iced tea because now I'm about to show you how cold it can get. They're saying Monday we probably won't get out of the 20s. And I know some of you like Laura and Jan, they're thinking, 20s what? But when we're this warm, this long into the year, and then all of a sudden within 36 hours, you're like in temperature, it gets chilly. So yeah. So I guess with that, guys, I'm going to let you go. Thank you for joining me on my October journey for hashtag craft yourself free. And seeing how I'm recording this on my spare old phone, fingers crossed that it can upload because I don't want to record it a third time. So with that, I love you guys bunches. I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.